So in this video, I'm going to explain to you why you have to trust your own taste. You really have no option, and I'll explain that in detail in a second. But before I do that, I want to tell you that, when I originally started my YouTube channel back in 2012, I wrote in the description of the channel, I said that I wanted to eventually cover everything related to how to paint in oil and learning to paint realism in oil paint. And that I wanted to cover every subject and everything so that anybody that wanted to learn how to paint in oil could do it for free by watching my YouTube channel. Now I've covered every single thing that you need to know about how to oil paint. I'm not going to stop creating videos. I plan on continuing to make videos and occasionally doing demonstrations. The essential workflow can be found at drawmixpaint.com, and these are YouTube videos, but I have links directly to the essential 3 videos that you need to watch for learning how to paint in oil. And those videos are under, if you look here on the Draw Mix Paint website, these 3 videos here that are colored differently, and this is under all my free videos section of my website, and those 3 videos is where you will find the 3 workflows. It's really 4 workflows: how to pencil, how to mix colors, meaning how to create your rows of color and mix all the colors in your still life, and then how to paint those colors onto the canvas. So all of those workflows are represented in these 3 videos right here. So go check that out, and if you want to know about anything else, like for instance how to varnish, how to stain your canvas, how to set up your studio, all of those other things can also be found on my channel, but the easiest way to find those videos is just go into the search field on YouTube, and this is not in Google search, but on the YouTube website. In the search field, just type Draw Mix Paint, 3 words, not like a website altogether, but Draw space Mix space Paint, and then whatever you're looking for. So Draw Mix Paint Studio Setup, Draw Mix Paint Varnish, Draw Mix Paint Dirty Colors, whatever it is. I've got so many videos that cover all these, studio tips and tricks, and just basically, everything related to sort of getting set up, and even a lot of demonstrations on how to paint. Okay, so let's get into this thing that I always talk about, and I've talked about it before, but why you must trust your own taste when it comes to painting. And you really have no other option. And I want to start by telling a little story, and I think I've told this before in one of my videos, but I'll repeat it. It's worth repeating. When I had painted probably about 4 or 5 paintings, I went in, this is when I was, in my early 20s, and I decided that I would go approach a gallery and see if they'd be interested in displaying my work. I didn't know anything about, galleries or how to approach them or anything else, but I just walked in with a painting that I had just finished, and there were 2 guys that owned the gallery. And one of them came out and looked at what I had done, and I asked him, what do you think? Tell me, what you think about my work. And he said, I love your work, but your weakness is color. And I thought to myself, I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't know what I should do to improve my color. I didn't know what was wrong with my color, but I certainly believed him. And I was devastated to hear that that I had this weakness in color that I had no idea how to fix. Now, what happened right after that was he went back in the back, and his partner came out and looked at my work, and he told me that my strength was my color. Now, that was the greatest thing that could happen to me, because all of a sudden I was like, well, who's right? Should I listen to, the first guy or the second guy? And I had no idea. Well, guess what? I had to trust my own taste, and I had to decide who was right and who was wrong. And ultimately, and this is, the reason I'm doing this video is because this is something that I get from my students all the time is, no matter how many times I tell them, trust your own taste, if you love it, you should paint it. They go home, and then I, have a follow-up Zoom call with them or whatever it is. and they're asking me, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about this? Should I paint this? Should I paint that? And I always tell them, I said, look, if you love it and I hate it, you should paint it. Your only guidepost that you have in deciding whether you should paint something or not is your own taste. And people like to make it complicated, and they like to come up with all these rules of composition and what makes a good painting and what doesn't make a good painting. And there's all those things can be talked about, but ultimately, if you look at an image that you've either created with AI or a picture you've taken of something, and you look at it and you say, oh, I love that, done. You're finished. If you love it, you should paint it. And that's your only guidepost. And one of the reasons I say that there's no rules of composition is because you can't tell me a single rule of composition that I can't go find a beautiful masterpiece that breaks that rule. Not one. And to this day, nobody has ever given me a rule of composition or of choice of subject matter or lighting or composition where I can't go find a beautiful painting that breaks that rule. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go and be influenced by other artists, go look at, great paintings and say, I love that, and you can even copy their style, but it's based on what you love. If you see an artist that's doing something that you love, by all means, learn from him. Copy his composition style, copy his color scheme, whatever it is. There's no problem with copying what other people are doing, but you're ultimately following your own taste, your own love for whatever it is. And you have to do that. You really have no choice. If you're not following your own taste, then whose taste are you following? You're listening to somebody else, and you can find, a group of people or an artist that has a style like this, and then you can find somebody else that has a style that's completely different. This is true in everything, whether it's writing or photography or music or whatever else. It's always going to be based on your own taste. Now, your taste can develop in time. When I first started painting, I only liked dark backgrounds, and I had no interest in painting anything other than something with a very dark background. I love Rembrandt, and it was just what I was into. But over time, I've learned to appreciate backgrounds that are not black backgrounds, and my tastes have grown. So your taste will evolve, but you have to trust your own taste. It's the only thing you've got. And the other thing is that there's this actually a really big deal when it comes to art, and that is people love something new. People love something different. So if you look at this is a style of floral that was very popular in the 1800s. And I don't know who first started this particular style, but somebody did a floral like this, and it was a great style. It's fantastic. But it's been reproduced so many times that I personally don't enjoy it anymore because I've just seen it so many times. So you can paint a floral like this. You can copy this style of doing a floral, but if you, at a certain point, people want to see something new and something different. And that's where following your own taste comes into play. So the way you find something new is to pursue your own taste, to do things your way and not to listen to anybody else. And if you love something, even if it's a completely new style, you should do that. Your choice of subject matter, lighting, and composition is far more important than how well you painted it. It is important to paint things well, and that's what I teach. But I don't teach style. I don't teach composition. I don't teach, color harmony, because I don't believe all of those things are a matter of taste. Everything that I teach as a teacher is actually not based on taste. So for instance, if I take yellow paint and I mix it with blue paint, it makes green. Nobody can argue with that. It's just a fact. If I tell you that your vase, if you're painting a vase and it's sitting over here, I can tell you, oh, your vase is too fat compared to that. And you can disagree with me, but I can go and I can measure it, I can compare it to the height and check the ratio, and I can prove to you that your vase is too fat compared to the other vase. But in terms of whether you like fat vases or you like thin vases, that's a matter of taste. So, getting an art education is not going to help you. Okay, you're not going to learn what good taste is. It's something that you have inherently. You love things or don't love things, and actually listening to experts on that subject actually can ruin you as an artist. I remember hearing this interview. This is like 25 years ago. But there was this interview with this artist, actually a writer, and I don't remember his name, but this writer had written a book and won the Pulitzer Prize with this book that he wrote. And then he wrote another 10 or 20 books, I don't remember how many, and none of them were that anybody cared about. And then he wrote another book that was another bestseller, like his first one. And they were interviewing and asking him, well, what happened? What changed and when you wrote this book that everybody loves? And he says, well, I stopped listening to other writers. And what happened was he was on his own. He came up with his own, writing style. He wrote this book, wins the Pulitzer Prize, gets all this fame, starts hanging out with other famous writers, and starts listening to them. And he's trying to do what they like instead of what he was like. So he stopped listening to other writers and went back to doing his own thing. And that's where you find something unique, something different. Well, I hope that's helpful. If you're not familiar with my paints that we make, I have a paint company called Geneva Fine Art. If you go to genevafineart.com, you can see all the oil paint that we make. It's ready to use. It has no harmful fumes at all. You can paint with it in a closed room with no ventilation. It's completely safe, non-toxic, and we have some new colors actually that are coming out. We're coming out with a permanent alizarin crimson, which is a much darker red than the pyrorubine that we currently sell. We've got the new purple that you may have seen, but we're introducing, going to be coming out with some sap green soon. So we're kind of filling in our I have the essential palette that I recommend, which are just 5 colors, but then we have all these power colors, I call them, super intense purple, super intense dark green, which is what sap green is. And some of these sort of outlier colors that you can't mix with the 5 colors. And we're introducing more and more of these at Geneva, so go check that out. And also, if you're interested in taking private classes from me here in Austin, or Zoom classes, which are online, just email me, mark@drawmixpaint.com, and I'll send you information about my classes. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.